I'm live and I don't see myself on the screen on this. It's my first time doing this on Zoom to live on Facebook, at least in a while. So welcome to the Cheer Athlete. I'm going to do today's live video on the live Q&A for the Healthy Cheerleading Group live through Zoom and on Facebook. And this will also be recorded on podcast. So if you don't want to listen to this video here, it's totally cool. Do what you want to do. You do you. Anyways, I'm trying to figure this all out. So I think this will work right here. Welcome. Hi, everyone. Hope you had a great week. And today, I had a great question yesterday about I'm going to talk two things today. Let's talk. One question that came up was, what can we do to manage shin splints when you're tumbling? So I'm going to answer that. And then another question and problem that I saw in the clinic this week was someone that that's coming to me for back pain because of carrying their backpack, And there was a great question from the mom about why is it taking so long and why did this person actually develop pain because of the backpack? And, this person's not a cheer athlete, but I think it's very true for all we're going to say teenagers, but any athlete, anybody, any high school student and younger potentially is has the potential for some discomfort and some struggles with carrying their backpack. These days, backpacks are crazy heavy. They give you like 17 books to carry in a backpack, and sometimes the kids need 2 of them. And so, how do you carry them? Back when I was in school, a long, long time ago, it wasn't cool to carry a backpack over both shoulders. We just carried it at one. So that hiked up the shoulder and, created all kinds of issues there. Over the course of years, we have learned that carrying a backpack on 2 shoulders is actually cool, and it does so much better for your shoulders. Most kids I see now come in and they're fine. They carry the backpack on both shoulders. As far, mechanically, that's correct. And that's exactly how we want to see them. What's the struggle is that they, if they are carrying too much and they are either pulling their shoulders forward and up and hunching their neck, that's going to create some discomfort into that upper back and neck. Or it's pulling them backwards and is lifting the sternum towards the ceiling and extending the back, kind of tipping the pelvis forward, so we get this extra extension through the lower back. And that takes out the anterior core and just pulls. So you don't have as much stability and you don't have as much strength to carry that backpack. So it's very common. What things can you do? Strengthen your upper back, rows, pull downs, band pull aparts, ITs, Ys, Ws. All of those will help to strengthen the upper back, create some mobility. Yes, they have to slouch. That's going to stretch the back. And then they have to sit up tall where they pinch their shoulder blades together, they chin tuck, and they kind of rock back and forth using their pelvis as a driver. So you get your core engaged, that you go into a posterior tilt and into that slouch, and then rock up into an anterior tilt and squeeze the shoulder blades together. That will move your spine and your shoulder blades and your pelvis all either segmentally or all together, and will help to create better stability so that when they're carrying the backpack, they can learn how to control their trunk. Now, the second thing that comes into this is where the head position is. The backpack's on and they're kind of leading their head forward. That puts a lot of strain on the back of the neck muscles. So cueing to there's no right answer. You have to adjust the backpack for your kid. As they grow, it's going to change. Yeah, having it snug up is going to make it a lot easier, but that might actually push their head more forward. So maybe they have to lower it down a little bit and carry it more centered. If it's too low, then they may have to hike it up. It all depends. You have to, adjust it and see what's the most comfortable, that they're not throwing their head forward, they're not arching their back too much, and then they're able to carry comfortably. And the third tip, because that's, we sit on computers, our heads are forward, and it just kind of creates that forward posture. Like when they get home from school, encourage them to lay down on the floor on their back and just let everything go out straight. Arms by their side. That's going to, and their chin tucked, neck long, that will help to just kind of open everything up and take you out of that posture that they've been carrying the backpack in all day. Generally, doing some manual work helps as pain, so it's important to see your physical therapist. Also, then learning specific posture cues and posture for where your own specifics are is very important. But I do think if managing so that we don't have back pain is relatively easy. I put that in quotes. If you know how to adjust the backpack and know how to, if you do the right exercises to strengthen your core and you know how to correct your posture. You guys hear me talk about this all the time. Posture cues for everything. That chin is level, so we're not tipped up and we're not tucked down and looking at the floor, but it's level like you're resting on a table. Shoulders are out of your ears. This sternum is down. So that helps to pull the ribs down and engage the core. And then the pelvis, if you put your hands on your hips, that should be level across. And the bones in the front, they should be level across. So chin's down, level, shoulders down, relaxed, sternum down, pelvis level in either direction. That's the centered and stacked position that we want at rest. It's not easy to maintain. It's important to move in and out of that, but finding that position at rest. And then when we strength training in that position will help prevent that neck and upper back pain, especially with carrying backpacks. All right, second question of the week, the shin splints. And I'm going to actually post videos about this later on Instagram. So if you're watching this at a different point, check out those videos because I'll give you some stretches for helping shin splints. If this is something, the main important thing here, this is not medical advice, not specific medical advice. If you have ongoing shin splints that's not going away and it's kind of progressively getting worse, then you need to go see someone, because the worst case scenario in a shin splint is it could lead to stress fractures in the front of the shin, the tibia. And so we want to make sure that we're not just pushing through, don't worry about it, we're going to be fine, we can keep going, and creating that impact and that overstress on the anterior shin, because it could lead to bigger problems and then actually having to sit out for a longer period of time. So shin splints are an irritation of that shin bone. Sometimes it's a medial, which is the inside bar, and sometimes it's the outside. For myself, and kids that I've seen in the clinic, so I've had shin splints in the past, and it wasn't from tumbling, because as you know, I don't tumble, but it was from running. And when I would stretch my calves, my shin splints would be better. So my experience with shin splints and that acute pain is really because your calves are more tight and you need to create that mobility. Now, again, you've been following me for a while. You know that I don't think that just stretching is the answer. I think there's a key, like, why do your calves tighten up in the first place? Sometimes I find in the clinic that the calves are, which is gastroc soleus and toe flexors, may be compensating for your anterior core, your glutes, or your quads. So as a rule, I always teach you, if you're going to stretch, you need to do a stability exercise after. And I prefer doing mobility work where you are taking the joint and the muscle through its full range of motion and you're hitting both sides of the joint. So for a calf stretch, you might stand on a step with the ball of your feet, which is like just behind the toes on the step, and drop your heels down with your knees straight till you'll feel a stretch up into the back of the calf, the back of the knee. And then raise up on the toes all the way up without letting your feet roll out. Trying to control that motion. You'll go down till you feel a stretch, come up till you feel that tighten. The repetitions is going to vary. Start with 5. If that's too much, do less. If it's too easy, do more. You can do one at a time. You can do both together. Hold on for balance. This is not your balance work. This is just creating some mobility through those calves. I also really like inchworms, because that stretches the posterior core at the same time as stabilizing the anterior core, and you get some dynamic movement with walking your feet. My cheerleaders at practice used to not love doing inchworms, and they'd kind of rush through them, but they're one of the best exercises that you can do, because they will strengthen and stabilize at the same time, and they create that mobility that we need for jumping and tumbling. So I love inchworms for creating that stability at the same time. And then my main go-to exercises are some weight shifting exercises. Generally foot on a step, weight shifting forward, moving your pelvis forward over your front leg to get that weight in, allowing the foot to pronate, and then easing back and allowing the foot to supinate, kind of rocking back and forth. Why do I like this? It mobilizes the foot in a weight-bearing position, which is what we do in everything that we do. It creates pronation and supination, the two big motions that we need in the foot. There's more, but the two, combined motions that happen with every step that we take. And then it works up at the knee and the hip also. You can get some great thigh work, some quad work, the front of your thigh, and you can get some glute work. So, and it will kind of combine the two, the stretch. You also get a stretch of the soleus and the toe flexors if you're not gripping your toes. So always be careful not to grip your toes. If they're real tight and you need, the front of your shins, they can be tight in relationship to weak posterior chain. So your anterior tib is the muscle on the front of the shin. And that's generally where you'll feel it if that's overworked. So it can be overworked or it could be underworked. If you're not sure, if you're stretching, it's not getting better, you need to get checked. Let me know. We can find someone near you, or we can talk through, like, maybe try a different exercise if it's not working for you, or, what do you need to do from here? But if you sit on the back of your heels, like child's pose, but instead of going down straight into the arms out, you're going to sit up tall and like sit back on your heels, but keep your chest up tall. That will stretch the front of the shin, and that puts your foot into plantar flexion out of the dorsiflexion, which the anterior hip does, and will help to, so that's going to stretch that muscle. After that, again, the quads might be underworked, or the glutes might be underworked. Start out with you could start with some calf raises after that. So stretch the front of your shins and then go do some calf raises off the step, so you create that full motion again. Just lost my train of thought, of course. So trying to stretch those. Again, not just holding, do the stretch and hold it for your 30 seconds, maybe a 2 or 3 reps, follow it with some stability. Another great exercise might be, after you do that sit back stretch, go into that inchworm, because then you're working everything. You're kind of eccentrically lengthening the calves while still working the core. And you have just released the front of the shins, which is where those shin splints are. Typically, if you come into the clinic, I'm going to do some massage in there. First of all, I'm going to look at how you move. I'm going to see, what does it look like if you stand on one foot? Can you squat? Can you lunge? Can you touch your toes? Can you lean back? Can you rotate and twist? From there, I'm going to poke around, see what muscles are tight. Then I might muscle test you and see what is actually overworking versus underworking. Then we'll pair them together and find out what needs to get stretched and what needs to get strengthened. Snooka's sitting with me today, playing with my keys, making some noise. And then we'll decide, do you need to stretch the front of your shins? Do you need to strengthen your calves? Do you need to stretch your calves and strengthen your glutes? It all depends. If you work on taking a stretch, follow that with a stability, generally of the opposite motion, that can help and make things better. Let's talk the big rock in the room with shin splints. When I talked in the beginning about potentials for stress fractures, it's really important to stop. Basically, a shin splint is an overworked and overused irritation of the structure in the front of the shin. So you need to rest. Doesn't mean you have to stop everything altogether, but if it hurts when you handspring, don't do 1,000 handsprings at practice. If you have to do it through a routine, and you're marking full out, great, do it one time, let it rest. Do some mobility work in between. If it's progressing and getting worse, then yes, you have to pull yourself out and actually have to stop. But if it's kind of easing as you're going, let it rest. Take some time, stop doing the activity that creates that repetitive strain, and let your body heal. Do the work in between and do other activities that don't aggravate it. It's perfectly fine to cycle. Generally, jumping and impact activities are going to create more of that strain. So the landing on the handsprings, the jumps, even if you're doing partner stunting and you're jumping a lot there, that potentially could irritate that. So use your best judgment, see what you need to do to quiet that down and let things rest, and then progress as you're able. Again, if something is continuing, if it's longer than 2 weeks and you can't get things to calm down, then you should check with your physical therapist and get assessed, check out your movement so that you can get things moving and feeling better. So those are my questions for the week. Let me know if you have any questions. You can either leave me a comment. If you're in the Healthy Cheerleading Facebook group, leave me a comment here. And if you are listening to this on the podcast or on video on YouTube, then either leave me a comment or send me a message, laura@movebetterllc.com, or you can find me on Facebook and send me a direct message there too. I'm always happy to talk you through and tell you, yeah, exercise should help that, try this, or no, you should actually go get checked out because something bigger might be going on. I hope you have a wonderful day. And let me know in the comments if you're watching this on the Healthy Cheerleading Facebook group. Was this helpful? How did the live broadcast go? I'm going to go watch it later, maybe. But let me know those comments. And I appreciate you watching. I appreciate being here. I hope you have a great weekend. It's a long weekend here for me, and it's a beautiful weekend for leaf peeping because it's just spectacular covers. So go embrace the day, embrace the beauty in the world that there is, and don't forget, when in doubt, breathe it out. Take life one step at a time. And as my friend Drew Kelleher said, you're responsible for your own vibes. Make it happen.